Ready?
Okay, we're ready. Go.
Hello, my name is Judge Peak. I am 9 years old. My papa introduced me to Miss Pat when I was just a little girl. She's Judge Pat now. I asked her to tell me what it's like being a judge. She invited me to spend the day with her at the courthouse to find out for myself. My mommy and brother, Micah, dropped me off at the courthouse.
Right.
My first stop at the courthouse was in Judge Pat's courtroom. In her courtroom, Judge Pat listens to trials every day. She told me that one day there was a landlord who disagreed with the tenant at the amount of rent due on the apartment. Judge Pat decided the right amount of rent. The tenant paid the rent and the landlord let the tenant stay in the apartment.
Okay, what's rent? Do you remember what rent is?
Yeah, that's when, I don't know, sale, lease.
Right, it's a lease. And so the tenant is leasing the apartment
Like-
from the landlord, right?
Yeah.
And what does the tenant pay to the landlord? What's the money called?
I forgot.
You forgot. That's rent. Remember?
So the money of
the money that the landlord pays to the
is
tenant
rent.
is rent.
Okay.
Okay, so they disagreed on the amount of rent that was owed, and that's why the judge had to make the decision about how much rent should be paid, because that's the money, the rent, that the tenant pays to the landlord.
Okay.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see.
Some people call this place the small claims court because you can go to court without a lawyer and sue for any amount up to $15,000. When both sides are present in the court, the judge will have a trial. A trial gives each person time to tell the judge what happened to cause the problem.
Okay, so what's a trial?
A trial is when each person on both of the sides tell the judge what really happened.
Good. And then I make my decision at the end of the trial, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before a person can tell the judge what happened, the person must first raise her right hand and take an oath to tell the truth. An oath is a promise that you will only tell the judge the truth about what happened in your case.
Good. So those are pictures of the courtroom scene. See where the person raised her hand to tell the truth, and that's what an oath is, to
Yeah.
promise to tell the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what's next.
Judge Pat said I could listen to a trial in her courtroom. This trial was about a car accident. A lady was in her car at the red light, and another lady hit her from behind. It made a big dent in the back of the lady's car. The accident caused her to hurt her neck and back.
Oh my.
The lady stopped at the traffic light, which is called the Plymouth, because plaintiff, because she started the trial. The lady who hit her is called the defendant, because she's the one being sued by the plaintiff.
Okay, so let's make sure we're clear. Which one starts the trial?
The plaintiff.
The plaintiff.
Yeah.
And so the plaintiff goes to court first and says to the court, I want to sue the other side. And the other side is called what?
The defendant.
Good. Okay.
In this trial, lawyers help both ladies.
Lawyers help both ladies. So
Yeah.
both ladies in court, the plaintiff and the defendant, they both have a lawyer.
Okay.
But in my court, do they always have lawyers?
Mm-mm.
Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Plymouth lawyer showed Judge Pat lots of medical records and the pictures of the wrecked car called evidence.
Good. And one more paragraph.
This is where you start.
Oh, is that what I start?
Yeah.
After the trial, Judge Pat decided the defendant caused the accident when she hit the plaintiff's car. She told the defendant to pay how much?
$8,000
$8,000 to the plaintiff. And what was the payment for?
for her medical bills and for the damage of her car,
And for what else?
her neck and back.
Good. Pain in her neck and her back from the car accident. So the people came to court and I had to make a decision about who caused the accident. I decided the defendant caused the accident. She had to pay the plaintiff $8,000. And I decided that based on the amount of the medical bills, the damage to the car to fix the car, and the pain in her back and her neck because she was hurt and she should get money for suffering the damage to her back and the damage to her car and the damage to her neck. Makes sense?
Yeah. I have a question.
Okay.
You know when we were talking about the oath part? Well, what if one of the people, they really tell the truth, but the other one starts lying? How can you tell which one's telling the truth?
That's the judge's job to decide who's telling the truth. And sometimes you can do it by little tricks that I learned as a judge. Judge Gaines, who's our senior judge, he taught me a lot of those tricks. And he would say, you look them in their face and you see, because sometimes they won't look at you if they're not telling the truth. They look down, or they look around, or they're looking someplace else because they know they're not telling the truth, and they don't want you to know that they're not telling the truth. And so they won't look at you because they'll be afraid of you if they not tell the truth. And so sometimes as a judge, I'll say, are you telling me the truth? And they'll say, yes, ma'am, I'm telling you the truth. And they know they're not telling the truth. My job as a judge is to listen to both sides and figure out who's telling the truth. And sometimes that's easy, and sometimes that's really hard. My job can be hard because I don't know sometimes who's telling the truth. But the law puts the burden. Do you know what burden is? Okay. The law puts the power on one side or the other to convince me of who should win. And so the plaintiff is the one that brings the case. So the plaintiff is one with all the power to let me know why he or she should win. And so if I don't believe the plaintiff, then that means the defendant has to win. But if I believe the plaintiff and the defendant can't come up with a good reason, that means the plaintiff wins. So there's certain laws that tells me about who has to give me the evidence to convince me. And the one bringing the case to court, the plaintiff, is the one that has to convince me that he should win. And so sometimes I have to decide it based on that burden, which is the power, and then sometimes I have to decide it based on who I believe is telling me the truth.
Okay.
Got it? Okay, good. Is that enough?